All right, fans. Thank you guys for tuning in to our Sunday special. This is Sunday special number 4. Cleveland. I got my man to join me this weekend. So let's get the show started like this, big guy.
Who am I speaking to right now?
Cameron.
My name is Cameron.
Cam Buford.
You got some good questions today.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
There's always room for improvement.
This is a big, big year for Tua to prove that he's a franchise quarterback.
I'm more a fan of boxing. Boxing is my main sport.
I'm not worried about him right now. I'm worried about Crawford. I'm trying to get that fight made.
As a competitor, how much does that competitive spirit get in there and say, I want to fight this guy. I want to get some of this guy.
Of course I want to fight all the guys. Of course that. But at the same time, like I keep telling you, it's a business.
Once you finish him off, do you feel you get the credit and the respect you deserve there?
It really don't matter. I'm just on a mission to become the best, welterweight in the division. After I get him, I want to fight the next best guy, the next best guy, the next best guy. Then once I clear the division, I'm going to move up.
Think about it like this. The promoter pays the fighter. The fighter pays the manager.
Okay.
So the manager works for the fighter, and the fighter works for the promoter.
Okay.
If you can see, you can believe.
So you are lifting weights currently? No. When he said it's easier to score in the NBA versus Europe, did you agree with them?
To me, it's easy to score all over the world.
Aaron, what has the game of baseball taught you?
One of the biggest things is being humble.
Can you give a message to the kids to kind of persevere through the false teachings they may be giving?
Patience.
Okay.
Patience.
As the show voice of the fan,
Oh my goodness!
continues to
I'm in
evolve.
tears.
Come on, you were adding some spice to it.
It is strictly banter back and forth between myself and Cameron Buford.
I enjoy all of it.
The real ones know what's going on, right?
Like you said, Pacific Northwest. So, I think it's a big part of my game. And every time I step on the floor, I just want to represent myself.
You play this game and you don't turn to win a championship, then why are you playing for?
I'm happy for the Mariners. I'm happy for all
Cam. Nobody.
Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape, and then you tell me if it was all about just a system.
You look like a buffoon.
Go do your research. Go do your study.
Oh, this guy.
That's what's good in sports, man. It's the big Snoop Dogg, man.
That's what's good in sport. Hey, man, thanks for making our voice your choice. You know how we do. Yeah.
Give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause, fans, for tuning in. Let's give Cleveland a cheers for showing up today. We appreciate his time, appreciate your presence, sir. But fans, I'm enjoying the so far. It's been a few weeks of the Sunday special, weekend special, I call it, but it's actually a Sunday special because the week starts today. So give you guys some fresh content to start the week off with. Again, this is just a slimmed down version, just a quick little shot of just a little espresso shot of the Voice of the Fans podcast that we're going to give you today. So we don't have a numbers game, no quotes today, no this week in history. Again, just an espresso shot, Cleveland, of the Voice of the Fans podcast. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And what we want to talk about, something I just watching that clip, Cleveland, just something that came to my mind is I want to talk about the NBA draft. And the NBA draft, obviously, we got a lot of international talent now in embarking on the NBA. So as you heard Danilo Gallinari, which I just thought that clip was so hysterical, that was maybe 3 or 4 weeks after Luka had said it's easier to score in the NBA. I'm sure if you guys didn't hear it from me, you guys heard it at one point. But Luka said it's easier to score in the NBA versus over in Europe. Do you recall that?
I do.
And so I had to get another quote unquote Europeans off the top of my head. I can't remember where Danilo Gallinari is from. But I had to get another international player's point of view. Right. And so I asked him, and then he gave that line. That was some of his answer was cut up, but I thought the funniest part is when he said, yeah, it's easier for me to score all over the world. And he wasn't necessarily just talking about who, if you get what I mean. And that what made it so hysterical. So I cut it up, man. I just thought that was hysterical. But again, now we're getting more and more influx of these international players, right? Coming into the league. So Cleavon, just when I saw that, I wasn't going to talk about I didn't really care to talk about Wemby coming into the league. I mean, that's a big story. Everybody's talked about it. So I really wasn't going to go there. However, he's just another player, international player coming to the league, and people are saying he's from Italy. San Angelio, Italy. Danilo Gallinari is. So with him saying that, we know what Luca said. Wembyama, he's another international player whose game apparently this last season in France, he was playing more with NBA players, who's running more NBA schemes, more pick and roll. And as you see, he can do everything. I'm not going to limit him, say he was playing with more back into the basket, because he was doing everything, shooting threes and everything. His game was this past season was kind of conditioning him for the NBA game. Cleveland. Is he going to blow people's mind by coming in here scoring, averaging 25 points a game in the NBA in his rookie year? We know last year, Paulo averaged 20.8, if I remember correctly.
Roughly in that range. And I think Kevin Durant, when he won Rookie of the Year, was around
Well,
21.
well, let's slow down on the Kevin Durant. Although he says he watched Kevin Durant and everybody's comparing his offensive game more to Kevin Durant. He does verbally say that's the guy, his game he watched the most on offense. Let's slow down the Kevin Durant conversation, okay? Let's not even go there. However, do you think he's going to come in and shock some people?
Well, that was my point, Cameron, that you said Paulo averaged like 20.8. I said Kevin Durant averaged like 21.5. It wasn't to make the comparison between the two. It's just to
he averaged 20. Paulo averaged 20 on the spot, 20 on the nose, 20.
Kind of giving you an idea of kind of where, some other talented rookies have ended up. I don't think 25 a game should be a surprise to anybody. I think that should be kind of like the barometer for the jump off, really. I think he's at least 25 a game. Yeah.
At least 25 a game?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do some homework. That's pretty high standards for a rookie coming to the league.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked I know I asked you this 3 or 4 weeks ago when I heard Chris Bouchard, shout out to Chris Bouchard, Fox Sports, when he said if he doesn't have the same career or better than Hakeem Olajuwon, which is MVPs and championships, his career is a failure. I thought that was pretty harsh.
Yeah, that's a tremendous amount of pressure and unrealistic expectation just kind of coming out the chute. There are so many factors that go into that, most notably health. And as we know, that people over 7'2" tend to have health issues because they're just putting so much wear and tear on such a large frame. So I mean, just to
bring health into the conversation. I don't want to wish this guy any.
No, we're not wishing him anything bad or saying that he's going to have any injuries, but just as a general rule, they have shorter careers. So to put all of those type of accolades and expectations on him right away is a little bit unfair to him. Is all that I'm saying.
Now we know social media wasn't at its peak as it is now in 2003 when LeBron came into the league. But were we expecting LeBron to put up 25 a game as a rookie?
No. Mm-hmm.
We were like, where is he going to fit in? And then his first game was 25 or 26, or I think it was, against the Kings. And that was amazing, right? But I don't know that anybody anticipated LeBron doing what he did as a rookie. again, that was abnormal, right? That was an abnormal number for a rookie. What did he do that rookie season? Well, nonetheless, that's here, neither here nor there. I just seeing that clip of seeing Danilo Gallinari say that. It just made me think about here we got another international player, and what is the peak for this international player as a rookie? But what were your takeaways from the draft, Cleveland? The draft, it was kind of weird. I don't know how you consumed it, whether it was online, watching Twitter, or whether you actually watched the draft. It was kind of weird. Shout out to Monica McNutt. I think she did the best she could as far as interviewing the players and the family. I thought that kind of got a little repetitious. Again, I don't know. How did you watch the draft? Did you watch it on ESPN? Did you just follow Twitter? How'd you consume it?
Yeah, I watched it on ESPN. I think it's kind of indicative of what the draft is going to be kind of going forward. I think that we're kind of very much used to really knowing the players a lot better and kind of where they're from and kind of their story.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just because you've had the opportunity to kind of watch them through college and kind of, watch their careers mature and so on and so forth. Going forward, again, like you're saying, there's going to be a lot more international presence and also players coming from, the other professional leagues, the G League and Ignite, et cetera. So you don't know as much about them. And so it's this kind of more of introduction, so to speak, as opposed to kind of like a coronation for whoever it is that you have been watching for a long time.
So, okay, to your point, the coordination we got was with Wemby because everybody had seen clips, and though they didn't see him play or grow up for the last 2 years, 3 years in the league, another reason I think they should have 2 years in college minimum or 2 years after their high school graduation to play, whether it be the G League or the overtime league. This isn't going to be politically correct, but I was over. I think we had Malika Andrews overexposure in the NBA draft. We had Jay Billis was there. They did have rotate Wojnarowski with Giovanni, the draft expert. Giovanni is not. That's not his exact name. Excuse me. But they had their draft expert for some of the European players. They had JJ Redick there. I need more JJ Redick. I need more Jay Billis. I need more explanation of how these guys' games mesh into the NBA or what their expectations is. I'm okay with, like the NFL always does a comparison. This guy is like, I don't need necessarily that, but I need how this guy's game is going to mesh more onto either the team they get drafted by or their projection in the NBA. You follow what I'm saying? I
Gotcha.
don't need. It was a little Malika Andrews overexposure to me. Like, there's only so much of proper, perfect introduction. You can't do that every single time for 60 players that get drafted in the NBA. It kind of got redundant because she's trying to be so precise on everything, which granted, you want to be right. Yes, I get you want to be right, but trying to be so precise with every comment and every person that comes out, you see through that. I don't know about you. If you saw through that, it was just a little overdone to me, in my opinion. Monica McNutt, every interview she had with the family, it seemed kind of repetitive. I need more, and I want to hear from the players. What they're going to say. It's their greatest moment of their life. They put in a lot of hard work to get here. Every parent is going to answer generally the same. It's nice to hear from their parents, but I don't necessarily need to hear from the parents. I'd rather hear Jay Billis, Kendrick Perkins, JJ Redick talk about their projections in the NBA. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I got you. And I think that the family thing, was interesting. It was an interesting little take to it because, to be perfectly honest with you, I stopped watching the draft for a considerable amount of time because whenever I saw players get drafted, I never did see a lot of father presence there, and it became somewhat depressing. And I think that this is kind of like overkill on the other side of it. Like everyone's family is, very close knit, and they all fly in, and obviously if you're a top 30 pick or projected to be, there's a certain type of I'm sure monetary compensation for having them there. So it's probably not on their dime. And it's good to show that aspect of it, but like you say, after like 30, like everybody has to bring their entire family on the couch and talk about it. That's a little much.
There is a story there. Don't get me wrong. There is a story there. At some point, we want to hear from the stories. I mean, we want to hear from the families to tell that story. However, I mean, after 15 times, you only can hear the mom and dad say he's worked so hard. He's been overcommitted for the last 15 years to this dream of his. I mean, you're gonna get the same thing, but there is a time for that story. Like Scoot, to hear him and his brother and sisters, to hear the Thompson twins talk about, getting there. Like there's the sacrifice. They went what 4, 5, and 6. I think they went the twins. That was the first time twin brothers go 5 and 6. That was impressive. There is a story there. Don't get me wrong. But I'd much rather hear how these guys fit into the NBA versus there's time and place for that story. That's all I'm gonna say there.
Agreed.
That's all I'm gonna say there. So the biggest story I think was Miller getting drafted. I expected him to get drafted by the Hornets. Apparently, a lot of people thought he should go to the Hornets should draft Henderson, which I thought it would have been a redundancy problem in Charlotte. They already have a lead guard. Why would you drive if everybody's projecting Scoot Henderson to be a lead guard, how incredible he is with the ball in his hands, blah, blah, blah. Now you have a redundancy problem with him and LaMelo. Like, unfortunately, fortunately for LaMelo, he never wore the BBBs in the NBA, so he don't have the feet problems. But Lonzo came in with the BBB.
Low kick in the net blow.
I mean, what else can you attribute that to, man? Come on. He was the first 2 years with the BBBs, whoever, by all accounts, anybody who bought a pair say they were horrible. And now my man's been out 2 years with feet problems. Well, excuse me. He's been out a year with feet problems. This second year is a knee problem. I don't know. You tell me. Is that coincidence? LaMelo didn't wear them. So is that coincidence or what? You tell me. Nonetheless, I digress. Who do you expect to have the better? Let's look at it two ways. Who's going to have the better season? And then who do you expect to have the better career? Miller or Henderson?
I think probably Henderson will have the better career. Who will have the better initial rookie season? I think Brandon Miller will have more opportunity to showcase his talents than Scoot will. So, but I think the upside is just bigger for Scoot Henderson.
You think the upside is better for Scoot? Scoot. So this season, I'm with you. I think Miller's going to have the better season. I think Miller ultimately will have the better career. The NBA is geared to shooting. He's a shooter. He's a Paul George fan, so his game is all around.
Nothing wrong with being a Paul George fan. Nothing wrong with that at all. PG-13 has had a great career.
I'm not going to get into the GOAT conversation, but he's a Paul George fan. No, I think his game, 6'9", long and lanky. I mean, he can play the 2 or 3. He's going to be able to get his shots up, obviously. I think he'll have more opportunity definitely this season to get his shots up and to get in a better rhythm than the NBA. And Scoot, without a jumper, I didn't see Russell Westbrook explode onto the league like he did coming out of UCLA. I certainly didn't see that. Coming out of UCLA, he was more of a defensive guy. That was his calling card. He's an athletic and defensive player. and then he turned into a, how can you say great offense? You got to say great. With OKC, he was a great offensive player. His elbow jumper at OKC was deadly. I don't know where it went, but I mean that was years ago. But he could pull up and hit that elbow jumper. If Scoot can get an elbow jumper that he can at least fake like it's he's going to take that jumper and then get around players. You know, maybe he has that same game, but I don't know. I don't see that. He's a ball handler. He's a team player. I like his personality. He's aggressive. He wants to get after it. I see all that, but I think ultimately Brandon Miller has a better season and the better career. But you think Scoot will have the better career? Huh?
I think the jumper will come. Yeah, with time.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Drew Timme goes undrafted. Were you surprised by that?
I believe him and Tshiwe both went undrafted. I was surprised by both of those guys.
Tells you the league is going draft strictly on potential. Like Drew Timme, he did sign. Did he sign with Utah? Who did he sign with? I think he signed with Utah. But that tells you just how much the league values potential. And if you stick around, it does you no good to stick around in college. It does you absolutely no good to stick around in college. He signed with the Bucks. That might be a decent pickup. For
good fit.
I mean, he good fit. He'll be able to come off the bench, play with if he plays with Lopez. Lopez will kind of show him some ropes, and he can kind of fill in those shoes. But I was surprised by that. Cleveland, we had some trades happen last week into the NBA. Oh, well, before we get to the trades, one trade that should happen or Dame Lillard. What do you think? Should Portland ignore the relationship they've had for a decade with Dame Lillard and say, dude, we're sending you to Miami, period. We're sending you to Philly regardless. Thank you, but no thank you. Kind of like have the conversation that I told you that the Suns had with Chris Paul. Where do you want to go, Dame? Just come in the office, sit down. Where do you want to go? Because we're moving on. It's not because we don't like you. It's not because you haven't been glorious to the franchise. It's not because we don't think you're any good. But we're going on a youth movement right now. And you've made it clear that you don't want to stick around for the youth movement. Where would you like to go, sir? Should they have that conversation with them? Or should they just package them and send them to Miami or Philly? What's your thoughts on that?
My personal feelings are that if someone has been loyal to your organization, never had a bad thing to say about it, has always given you the organization 110%, and has even gone on record saying that I am not a ring chaser. I'm perfectly okay playing my entire career here, and let the chips fall where they may. That you should acquiesce to whatever it is that their request is. That you wouldn't trade him unless he wanted to be traded. Now, from a more ruthless business perspective, I mean, you can always do the Belichick thing and just who cares what you think? Who cares what you want? Utah has a whole bunch of picks. You're going to Salt Lake City, or Indianapolis.
Salt Lake City.
So they give us Halliburton. So hey, you're in Indianapolis. Obviously, ideally, he doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract. Right. So the most it would be is a courtesy. And when you're talking about, I saw the ridiculous trade that they had the first time on the board. It was like 6 players going to Portland, which ultimately didn't end up happening. But if it's just how can we get him to Philadelphia or Miami, then yeah, I mean, at least have the courtesy to tell him that. Don't let him find out on Twitter.
I mean, yeah, this is my point. Do you just say, dude, thank you, but no thank you? Or do you have the conversations like, where do you want to go? Like, to send him to Utah, I mean, that's shit.
Well, that question's already been asked where he wants to go, and his preference is Miami. Miami doesn't have enough assets to get him, or they would have.
So what would you do if this was in your hands? Would you shop them and for the best, for the better package, for the best package you could get? Would you shop them, or would you just stick around and say, okay, he's looking at $45 million next season, 48 and 58 in 2025, and shit. 45, 48, 24, 25, 58, 25, 26, and 63 and 26, 27. Now, I'm sorry, Dame. I'm sorry, Dame. Going into next season, dog, if we're not in the NBA championship, if we're not in the conference finals, Dame, we've seen the story enough times. I can't pay you $50 million, Dame, and we're not in the conference finals. My fault, your fault. However, things just didn't shake out. I don't want to blame you. I'm not blaming you. I'll take the blame. Dame, we haven't done right by you. We're not in the conference finals. We got to recalibrate. Because $50 million, $48 million. And next year it's 63. Next year it's, what did I say?
It accelerates to 58 and 63 those last 2 years.
Yeah, bro. I can't pay you 50 and then $60 million and we're winning 30 games. I can't do it. I mean, we just run with the rookies. Rookies are gonna get us 30 wins. So, bro, you mean to tell me that all-star career, Hall of Fame career, and we can't get over 40 wins? We got to be in the conference finals. If we don't make the conference finals, then maybe that's the conversation I have. Dang, I love you. Clearly, you want to stick around. You're the king of Portland, for whatever that means. But if we don't get out of conference finals, Dame, this is it, buddy. This is it. There's not out of the conference finals. If we don't get to the conference finals,
there's absolutely no reason to have that conversation because everyone knows that that's not what's going to happen. They're not talented enough to do so, and like you said, they're in the midst of somewhat of a tear down. He's just the biggest piece of it. So,
well, yeah, we got to make some moves, Dame. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. We got to make some moves, and just unless you tell me, you got to give me your list of 3 teams, and if you don't want to give me your list of 3 teams.
Well, he's done that. He's done that part. So, I mean, we can only assume that they have tried to make deals with those teams that just haven't come to fruition. They don't have enough pieces.
Yeah, I'll send you back to the Bay. I'll send you see what I can get from those guys. I'll send you to the Bay. I mean, if you want to be home or whatever, however that goes, because I can't do it, Dame. I can't do it no more. You're a little too expensive for my taste. So that's a Dame story. We'll see if he gets moves if they run him with the young guys. Because if you're telling me Scoot is a franchise or Scoot is the next coming, and then they got Anthony Simons already, like let this young backcourt run, and Dame is just gonna kind of hold them up, right? So let this young backcourt let them go, and they can get me 30 wins, 35 wins, and mess around towards a play-in, and I can't be paying you $50 million to dance in the play-in, Dame. I'm sorry. So that's a potential trade that should be happening. But the trade that did happen, let's talk about the trade that happened and then it got retracted. Was Malcolm? I got so excited Malcolm Brogdon was going to the Clippers. I think I got over. I think somebody saw my excitement on Twitter and then said, no. Let's take this back. Let's retract this one. I don't know whether it was honestly whether it was Malcolm's injury or did he clear the physical? I don't know what happened, but it was KP going from Washington to the Celtics. Somehow the Celtics are getting draft picks somehow, but nonetheless. And then ultimately Malcolm Brogdon was going to go to the Clippers, and Marcus Morris and Landry Shamet was going to Washington Wizards. And again, somehow Boston was getting draft picks. I like that trade only from the Clipper standpoint. I don't know why Boston is when I think he was less than impressive in New York even lesser impressive in Dallas. Now he had a good season again. To you and Clint like to talk about when the lights are bright and some people can't perform in the lights. Blah blah blah. KP was in Washington where there are no lights at all. I don't even know if the lights were on in the stadium. And then he averaged 23, 8, 9. I don't know why Boston is so enamored with that. KP is he's a waste of size, in my opinion. And he only that was his best season when nobody's watching, where there's no expectations. Now you're going to put him in Portland or in Boston, when he didn't perform as a New York Knick, he didn't perform in Dallas. Those same things that Boston is looking for him to do, he did not do when it counted, or when Boston, or excuse me, he did not do when the Mavericks needed him to do that in Dallas. Why would you think he's going to do that in Boston? So Boston was so had their heart so set on getting him that once the trade with the Clippers fell apart, they ended up going. They called up Memphis and sent Memphis Marcus Smart and Tyus Jones. End up going. I'm kind of surprised that the Grizzlies gave us Tyus Jones, who's been their best point guard over the last year. Sent him to Washington, and they end up with KP and 2 number ones. So from getting the number ones was a good coup for the Celtics, but I'm not. Maybe you can explain to me why they're so enamored with Kristaps Porzingis. I told you why I didn't like him, but they sent away their heart and soul. They sent away the grit and grind, gritty, grimy Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is one of my favorite players in the NBA because he came in the league with very little fanfare. He turned heart, effort, determination, turned him into becoming a defensive player of the year. First of all, a defensive factor, then the defensive player of the year, then the heart of that team. And they were so willing to give him up for Kristaps Porzingis. I think the Celtics is they're gonna resent that trade. They're gonna regret making that trade. What's your thoughts on that trade? What's your thoughts on Kristaps Porzingis? I think the Grizzlies won that trade by getting him. Now you can fill him in for Brooks, who they lost. They can get Smart to get these guys a little bit more gritty, more grimy, back to their, not as I want to say original mindset, but back to that mindset of playing good defense. And you know what he's going to bring every night. He's not the best scorer on the team. He's not the best shooter. That shooter is going to be nasty. They better hope Luke Kennard can start draining some threes, because you got Morant when he comes back, and Smart, neither one of those guys are knockdown shooters. So, but the grind, I'll take all the negatives with Smart because of the positive that he's bringing. And then he's a veteran now. He can bring some leadership to that team. So I thought the Grizzlies won that deal. What's your thoughts on that? On the Celtics' determination to get KP, and how do you think that plays out with the Celtics?
Unlike yourself, I thought Stops played okay in Dallas. I thought the problem was that he couldn't really actually stay healthy and on the floor at the same time.
Okay.
So
obviously
sometimes the best ability is availability, and he's proven to not really be all that durable. But as a number 3 option on that team, I think that's huge. I think that's part of what they were lacking and missing. I don't know. I don't necessarily think they lost that. I think they lost the Miami series because they just got focused way too late. It was just way too much energy to overcome a 3-0 deficit. I definitely think that they were the better team. So does this move make them a championship team? Not 100% sold on that, but I do think it's an upgrade from where they were previously.
Really?
Yeah. And Marcus Smart, for all that you're saying about him, those intangibles and qualities that you admire in him would be great if he was a football player. But this is the NBA, and the NBA is all about talent. And like you said, he's a volume shooter at best, and he's been able to carve himself out of position.
That's a low blow.
Because he
a low
didn't
blow.
really actually have one because he was undersized and couldn't shoot. So what he did is he parlayed his intensity and toughness and grit into being a great defensive player, which is cool. But the NBA is all about scoring, which is not his forte at all. So fortunately, he's going to a team where once Ja comes back, Ja is kind of the focal point of the offense. So if he had to be that or a number two, right now we're still saying Desmond Bane is their number two. So he can't be a number two option anywhere in the league. The best he can be is a 3 option. And like you're saying, all those things that you love so much, maturity and leadership and guidance, that's great. But those guys play in the Western Conference.
Oh my! Well, they're gonna have to defend somebody. Defending was one of their problems. They had Brooks, but he clearly didn't do it in the playoffs when they needed to. So they're gonna have to defend somebody. I mean, you make a solid point. Yeah, he's not a scorer by no means. You're not bringing him on the team to average 22, 23 points a game. You're not going to get that out of him. You're not. And I just don't know. Boston, I think, he's an upgrade from Horford. KP, he's an upgrade from Horford. But there again, he doesn't give you the rebounding that Horford gave you. He doesn't give you the toughness that Horford gave you. He may shoot a couple more threes from the outside, but big deal. He's 7'2". I'd want my 7'2" guy getting some rebounds and being more of a defensive presence. If you're 7'2", I mean, I can't get away from that. And that was Horford did better. He played better defense. He was more of a defensive presence. He was tougher. So I can't say he's an upgrade from Horford, in my opinion. So we'll see how that turns out. So are you saying the Celtics won that trade by getting KP over trading away Smart and getting KP? You're saying the Celtics won that trade?
Only time will tell, but I do think it's a slight upgrade. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. And remember, fans, Cleveland is the one who said the Celtics would fall flat on their face after they got rid of their head coach. They ended up making it to the conference finals, so he wasn't right in that standpoint. And you're saying that KP is an upgrade from Marcus Smart? Oh boy, you might got another L on your board, big guy, because I don't think that's going to happen. Another trade that went down is the Golden State Warriors sent Jordan Poole to Washington Wizards after I told you weeks ago Cleveland didn't want to believe me that Chris Paul needed to be shipped out of Phoenix. He finally got shipped out of Phoenix and got sent to the Washington Wizards. I'm sick of him talking about, oh, I didn't know. My son told me. My son told me after I was playing hoop in Winston-Salem. Man, shut up, dude. He was a former PA for the Players Association, president of the president. So you don't know what's going on in the NBA? I'm not buying that. And shamefully, shame on you for buying that, anybody who bought that. But him getting traded to the Golden State Warriors, a team that they've been feuding with is not the right term, but competing heavily with. I mean, I don't know if you remember Steph Curry. First, I think Chris Paul in the 2014 playoffs gave him the shimmy as they was going down court. The Clippers couldn't get over Golden State. In fact, when Golden State beat the Clippers, that was the first year they went on to win the finals, if I remember correctly. When the Clippers were the favorite, and then at Houston they couldn't beat Golden State. Chris Paul couldn't beat Golden State. Then even before he went to Houston, Stephen Curry put the move on the baseline on Chris Paul and made him do the twister where he's falling all around and fell back on his hands. I don't know if you remember that highlight, but he shook him up, and now they're going to go play together. How do you think that's going to work out? Or do you think he stay there? Do you think he stays there? And how do you see that working out if he stays there?
I would hate to be in a locker room with Draymond Green and Chris Paul. That just does not sound like any fun at all. I understand from what I've been hearing that the Jordan Poole, that it basically came down to, Draymond or Jordan Poole, because that just was never going to get resolved. So they had to move on from Jordan Poole.
Sure.
Not saying that it was his fault that all of those things happened, but
yeah,
if he can't get over it and we have to pick between the two of you, well, it's going to be Draymond. Is what I have been hearing. Secondly, they weren't enamored with his shot selection in the playoffs, and also his inability to be on the floor when it counted. So if you're giving somebody that much money,
he couldn't play defense, right? He couldn't guard anybody.
So if you're giving somebody that much money, and that kicks in, starts next year, yeah, you might as well get ahead of that. You made a mistake. It's a new regime in Golden State. Dunleavy Jr.'s over there running the show. So go ahead and, addition by subtraction. But bringing Chris Paul in, no. I mean, everyone will do the professional right thing. And, obviously he's coming to –
We'll see. We'll see about that.
Right? On his last legs. So it's not like he, is the, rumbling, raging Chris Paul that he was 10 years ago. So, hopefully he comes with a certain level of humility, realizing he's not starting, that his role is basically to facilitate with the second team, and try and stay as healthy as you can for as long as you can and give us as much as you can in the playoffs.
So that's my problem. Obviously, you kind of hit the head on the nail. If it came down to Jordan Poole versus Draymond Green, the Golden State Warriors had to take Draymond Green, even though he was at fault for that relationship failing.
Right.
I mean, he has 4 rings. He's been a part of the legacy. So they had to kind of go with him in that situation. I seen a funny thing on Twitter that said Chris Paul and Draymond Green are going to be the first ones to get technical fouls for yelling at each other in a game. I thought that was hysterical.
Thrown out for fighting with each other. Yes,
I thought that was hysterical.
Throwing blows. That's a legitimate possibility.
But if you go back to the beginning of the Warriors dynasty, if you remember a guy by the name of Jaren Jack. Jaren Jack was a point guard for that team. He was an undersized point guard, but he was a point guard for that squad. And that allowed, with Jaren Jack on the floor, that allowed Steph to play off the ball. And that allowed Clay, he wasn't the third man, but they didn't rely on him for any ball handling at that time because it was Steph and Jaren Jack. If you remember that, do you recall that?
I don't recall Jared Jack as much as I recall Sean Livingston kind of having.
Sean Livingston came and filled in that role at once Jaren Jack left. Sean Livingston filled in that role. That was my next comment. Is that same role again? Sean Livingston came off the bench though. Jaren Jack, once Jaren Jack was gone, I think they kind of got rid of him. Who was the other guy they sent to Portland? Monte Ellis, and then Jared Jack came in because Jared Jack was he finished some games, but they got rid of him. Once Steph got healthy, they got rid of Monte Ellis. Then Jared Jack was in there to kind of finish some games, but the ball was in his hands. And then Steph would do his running around and getting open, and Jack was hitting him and kept Steph fresher longer, if you will. I can see that role playing out if Chris Paul's able to manipulate, or not manipulate, but he's able to play their game, I should say. If he's able to play their game, he can conceivably step back into that role. Whereas Jared Jack was getting 10 to 15 points a game, 8 or 9 assists. He was a better defender than we would expect Chris Paul to be. However, that's a role that's how that worked years ago. If they can still play that way, if Chris Paul can conform his game to that way, it'll be interesting. That'll be the benefit of making that move. That's going to be the best you get out of Golden State Warriors and Chris Paul, if he's able to conform to their style of play. Well, that's going to be the best of that one there. So there was some trade. There was some trades, and Jordan Poole is going to get all the shots he wants to, especially if they Kyle Kuzma opted out. I think they'll probably re-sign him, but for at the time being, he opted out. I expect him to come back because again, Washington's the only player or the only team that can pay him the most. So he probably wants money more than anything else. I'd imagine at this point in his career, he got a ring. Yeah, I doubt he's going to try to force his way onto the Lakers per se, or to take. I don't know if the Bucks would want Kyle Kuzma. He's not that consistent, so I think he's looking for a payday, if you will. Jordan Poole is going to. He's the only one there. He's making the most money. He's going to get all the shots he wants, so he should be happy. They need to get some defenders on there, but they've hit the reset button in Washington. Cleveland, a couple things before we go. Canelo signed the 3-fight deal with PBC, so it looks like we're going to get Canelo and Charlo here before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably get Canelo Benavidez. Either I doubt it happened. We're already in June. If he's fighting Charlo in September, they're not going to fight again at the end of the year. So that might be a March, April, May fight. Knowing Canelo to be a early May 5th fight. If he's able to pull the strings, Canelo and Benavidez. So that's pretty intriguing. I mean, the boxing, even if you're a mild fan in boxing, you have to be excited by the year that boxing is had, because we've seen some really good fights so far. Canelo and Plant earlier in the year. Excuse me. That was February? Was that February? Canelo?
Yes, man.
So we saw that fight. We've seen some good fights this year. Obviously, we got the Spence Crawford coming up with. Check for us on Tuesday. I'll give you highlights of the New York press conference. But so we got some good fights coming up. So if you're a mild boxing fan, man, tune in. We had a interesting fight last night, kind of the A-side one. I don't know if you saw the Jared Williams fight with Carlos Adames. It was a good fight until they stopped it. A little premature, but it was another good fight. So we got some good fights. Maybe we'll see Tank Davis again before the end of the year. Once he gets his nose.
Is he at home or is he behind bars?
Well, they gave him 30 days. He's probably got another week left, maybe.
Okay.
He didn't. They didn't like him renting out the Four Seasons Hotel, the penthouse suite, and doing his what was it called when you
house
get
arrest? Why do you have to do it someplace special? I mean, why can't you do it where you want? All you have to do is stay there, right?
I mean, yeah, he rented out the Four Seasons. They didn't particularly care for him renting out the Four Seasons above the courthouse. They didn't particularly care for that one. So he had to go spend some time.
I've heard of far worse house arrest stories than that one, but okay.
I mean, so
that's why they went and got him. That's a little petty, but okay.
Yeah, it was. Well, he didn't get the permission. Obviously, he didn't get the permission from his from the courthouse, and his lawyer. The lawyers took the blame for it. What else are they going to say? They took the blame for it, and yeah, he had 30 days to do it at home. So we'll see what happens. So Cleveland, before we let the people go, fans, thank you guys for tuning in. First of all, give yourself a round of applause. Thanks for tuning in for the Sunday special, Voice of the Fan Sunday special, weekend number 4. I've been in a debate with Mr. Cleveland still over this weekend. And the debate, if you guys pay attention to the show, just in the last 3 months, we've been doing this a long time. We've been doing this since when, Cleveland? How long we been on this doing this?
I think 2010, 2011, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. So it's been a long time. We got a lot of shows under the books. A lot of shows under the books. On Tuesday is going to be week 247 of this iteration of the Voice of the Fans podcast. So thank all you guys for sticking around, sticking with us. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you, Cleveland, for being a part of the show. However, Cleveland, there's things Cleveland still doesn't get. There's still things that Cleveland doesn't get. And again, I say week 247. This is just on YouTube. This is just YouTube part of the show. We've been doing it far longer than that. He doesn't understand mentorship. He doesn't understand the need for mentorship. I've been trying to beat this into his brains over the last, specifically since the NFL draft, but he's I think at this point he's refusing to get it. And I'm gonna ask you this. There's a couple things I want to get at him right now about in Cleveland, Mr. Data Analysis. I just need you to do the simple equation for me, Cleveland. Fans, you hear this is going on tape, this is going on record. I'm asking for a simple equation from Cleveland. Let's see how long he takes it to get to me. Cleveland, would you please, whether it's by longhand, I'm not asking you to show your math, but would you please divide 5 by 46 and tell me what you get? That's all I'm asking. Divide 5 by 46 and tell me what you get. You can use your phone. You can use a calculator. You can use Google Sheets. You can use Excel. I don't care what you use, but please, by Tuesday, week 247 of the Voice of the Fans podcast, would you please divide 5 by 46 and let the fans know what you get, please? Can you do that for me?
Yeah, if you can explain a little bit more in the context with regards to what that division means.
I certainly will. When you give me that number, I could do a week special, a weekend special just on that number alone. Just on that simple equation, I could do a whole weekend special on that equation alone. But would you please do the math, and would you please let the fans know on Tuesday, week 247 of the Voice of the Fans podcast, would you let the fans know what is that equation 5 divided by 46? Because they're intrigued now. Now they want to know. I've been texting this guy for a week about this equation. We've been going back and forth about some other stuff, but I've been texting him a week for that simple equation. It's very simple. 5 divided by 46. Would you please do that math for us, Mr. Data Analysis? I mean, I'm sure you got computers at the office that can help you with this. I'm sure you got your own little text machine. I'm sure you got Excel. You told me you know all about Google Sheets. I'm sure that's not asking for a lot, is it? Is that asking for too much?
Cam, here's what I'll do for you. It sounds like you're really talking about more 46 divided by 5. It's fine.
No.
But
No. I told you what I'm asking for.
It has to be in the context of what is that number for? I mean, stats just for the sake of stats is not what I do. You know, I don't do that.
5 divided by 46. I know what I'm asking for. I just want the number 5, right? Okay. Divided by, I can't even do 46. 46. Can you do that for the fans? Will you do that for me and the fans, please? Please, by Tuesday. By Tuesday. There's a lot of tools you have in the stratosphere to use and do that simple equation for you. Can you please do that by Tuesday? And the fans? You're more than welcome to call in and boo if he doesn't give us this equation on Tuesday, fans. Where can they find you, sir?
At Clevie Wonder on Instagram. Excuse me. At Clevie Wonder on Twitter. Cleveland still on Instagram.
Now he's trying to give you guys bad information so you can't find them. Please.
No. Please come find me. Yeah. I'll have that number for you, Cam, on Tuesday. Sure.
You can always be a part of the show by hitting us up anytime during the week at _Voice of the Fans on Twitter, at _Voice of the Fans on Twitter. You can always be a part of the show. Send some show recommendations. Now we're going into kind of the dead the dead time, the dog days of summer. So it's NFL off season until we get to the preseason games. Cleveland's not going to want to make any predictions on anything that goes on in the NFL until like week 3 of the preseason.
There you go.
When the guys aren't even playing.
You see how he's morphed into like understanding what's going on here. But yeah, that's the time to do it.
You don't want to make any commitment. I get what's going on. You don't want to make any commitment. You don't want to make any hypothesis until you actually see Kenneth Walker run the ball twice in the preseason game, and in week 3 he doesn't. He runs it 3 times. He run the first series and is out of the game. Then you want to make all of a sudden try to make a prediction because I'm gonna force you into one, but you'd rather wait till after week 1 to really see what's going on.
I'm good with after final cuts.
So I say that he's really not going to want to talk any football to make any concrete predictions until then. So we're in the dog days of summer, fans. Please send in any show topics you want to talk about, anything you want to talk about, whether it's boxing, whether it's basketball, whether we got the summer league coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about summer league next week. So any of these predictions that you want to talk about, let us know what you want to talk about. If it's baseball, I mean, we don't talk much baseball. Shohei Ohtani. Let us know what you guys think of Shohei Ohtani. Let us know. Is he ruling baseball right now, or is it the kid out in De La Cruz out in Cincinnati, or is it Carlos? Not Reyes, and he's in for the Marlins. What's the kid in Atlanta right now who's also killing it?
Ronald Acuna Jr.
Thank you. Acuna Jr. Fernando Tatis is back for the San Diego Padres. He's back throwing cats out from left field, right field, from right field to home plate. He's back. So there's some exciting players, foreign players, albeit. There's some exciting players in baseball, kind of keep making this a season, worth watching. So let us know what you guys want to talk about. Okay, send some show ideas @_voice of the fans on Twitter. @_voice of the fans on Twitter. One of the debates here, we're gonna let you go after this. I wanted to get into this, and before I do it, we'll talk about this on Tuesday, but I'll introduce it right now. We'll talk about this on Tuesday, but I wanted to. We don't have time today, but I did want to get into our Team USA basketball right now. Team USA. Let me just read you this list, Cleveland.
Okay.
And we'll go into this more on
Tuesday.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Start out with the joke. Okay.
Now this is the list. This is the list for Team USA. This is the list for Team USA.
Now with the jokes. Okay.
Jaren Jackson Jr., Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Brandon Ingram, Jalen Brunson, Austin Reeves, Mikal Bridges, Bobby Portis, Walker Kessler, Cam Johnson, and Paulo Banchero. We'll make comments next week. We'll make comments during the show. But right now, that's Team USA. I'm not sure how excited we should be about Team USA right now. I'm not sure how excited we should be about these guys right now. However, fans,
I'm assuming that's a very preliminary list, but okay. Yeah.
Fans, again, contact the show @_voice of the fans. @_voice of the fans. Let us know what you think about this list. Here's another topic that's getting ready to get heated again because Cleveland vacillates all through there's little consistency, should I say. If you pay attention to the show, fans, you know that Cleveland came. We've been doing this show. He told you we've been doing this show since around 2011. I heard just for the first time this year in 2023 of this bogus list that he came up with of playoff gods, first timers, And who else did you
Usual
have?
suspects.
Usual suspects.
And Jimmy Butler has anointed himself playoff legend.
Okay, playoff legend and gentleman sweep in the finals. So this fans, in 12 years of doing this show with this man, the first time he came out with this list was just this year, just this season. Okay. And so now, I bring that list up. I bring that up to say he will point out to you how did Jimmy become a playoff legend? Because of what? Because of what?
He was able to get to the carry a team to the NBA Finals twice that really he shouldn't have been able to carry.
So it's not because of what he did in the regular season. It's because of what he did when it's the chips mattered most. That elevated his game, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So we're at least, I don't understand the list fully. I don't understand the list. I don't understand what went into it, all the metrics and all the help that he had, all the Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets that he pulled together to create this list. I don't understand all that. I don't quite understand it. But if I'm listening to what my man has to say, would you call yourself the knower all sports? What's
self-proclaimed expert on all things sports related.
You got to pay attention to the self-proclaimed knower of all things sports. You got to pay attention to that part, fans. You got to pay attention to that self-proclaimed part. You got to pay attention to that. So I'm listening. I hear him. He's on the show. He's been rocking with me for a long time. So I listened to that part. And what he just told me, fans, is that when the chips matter most, it elevates. You get more points for doing something when the chips matter most. That's what he just told me, didn't he? That's what he just told me. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look at it. Julio, not Francisco Rodriguez. Julio, not Francisco Rodriguez, right there, just made, as announcer said, the gem of his life. Fans, what do you rank that play? What would you rank that play, fans? I think, but looking at the score, it was in the 7th inning. It was a 3-4 run. The Mariners were down a point. That would have put them down 2. That would have put them down 2 in the 7th inning. Had that been the bottom of the 9th, and he's robbing a game-winning play, that elevates that play to maybe an 8. Man, I might give him a 9 if it was the bottom of the 9th. If it's a game-deciding play. That was an average catch in a Major League Baseball. But it was the 7th inning. That was a 7, fans. That catch was a 7. Cleveland, how do you grade that catch?
I would grade that a 9.
How do you get a 9, Cleveland? How do you get a 9?
Well, Cam, first and foremost, the opportunity to make those kind of catches don't come very often, and the ability to make that catch.
What do you mean? Those catches come every weekend.
Really?
Those are the Major League Baseball.
How many outfield fly balls are a little over the fence, but still within your range to catch?
That happens every single.
Usually home runs are not.
Didn't it just happen? Didn't the Marlins just rob the Mariners of a home run, a grand slam home run?
That's correct.
That would have
that was how many games? That was how many games ago, Cam?
That was a week ago.
So 7
That was
games
a week ago.
So once every 7 games.
That was a 9.
Once every 7 games, perhaps you get an opportunity to even do that.
That was a 9.
And fans, did you recall that he started this conversation out with making a basketball comparison where someone has the ball in their hands quite a majority of the time, and the possessions have to change every 24 seconds. He's trying to make a comparison to an outfield catch to Jimmy Butler. This is what I deal with on a weekly basis.
Catch, Cleveland, that you said happens every week. You just told me it happens every week.
No, I said an amazing catch.
Fans, please rate that. Please, I'm leaving it upon you, fans. Please rate that. Hit us up @_ on Twitter. Please rate that catch. Do you guys need to see it again? Fans, do you need to see it again? I'm going to show it to you one more time. I just need a ranking on this catch because I think Cleveland is out of his freaking mind by rating this a 9. Let me show where is this damn video at? Where's this damn video at? Fans, I need your help. I need you guys to rank this video for me. I can't even find the damn video. It's there. Okay, here we go. Fans, here you go again. Please rate this video. Or please rate this catch. Again, 7th inning. The wall's only 6 feet tall. The wall's only 6 feet tall, by the way. The wall's only 6 feet tall. He jumped 7. The wall's only 6 feet tall. Please, fans, you see the wall is 6 feet tall. Please, fans, rank that catch for me. Let us know @_ voice of the fans. I give it a 7. That was a great 7. Great 7. Had it been the bottom of the 9th again, they were already down 1. Had it been the bottom of the 9th and that saved them again, when it mattered, that when you do something when it matters most, no time on the clock, that's more impressive. But there was 2 more innings to go. Fans, please, fans, rate that catch for me. Please, fans. That's all I'm gonna say, fans. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the weekend special. Thank you guys for tuning in to the weekend special. I appreciate your time. Again, look for us on Tuesday. Tuesday night, we'll do week 247 of the Voice of the Fans. Cleveland does owe us a math equation. And fans, I'm going to let Cleveland know @_ voice of the fans what you guys, the fans, how the fans rate that catch. Because clearly Cleveland is on. He's wearing his Mariners goggles for whatever reason. Are they even 500? Are the Mariners 500 yet, Cleveland?
They will be after today.
After today, but we're midway through the season and they're not even 500. I mean, I've gave them way too much airtime, but that was just something we talked about. That was something that we were debating over this weekend. So he says they will be after today, and it's mid-season. They're not even 500. What are the Mariners today? Right now, 37-38. So they won't be over 500 today. They'll be at 500.
They'll be at 500 after today.
5-5. They're 9.5 games back. They're 5-5 of their last 10. Damn scrubs. Package them up and send them to Portland after the All-Star game, would you? Fans, thanks again for tuning in. Cleveland, give yourself a round of applause. Thank you for tuning in, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you, fans, also for being a show part of the show. Give yourself a round of applause for tuning in to the weekend special. And we shall see you guys Tuesday. Thank you.